everyone, Team709 here on the known YouTube channel for a deck profile for you guys this week. Obviously, I like to do a lot of fun things, and this is something that I've kind of enjoyed playing around with over the years. I'm sure that some people haven't really kind of played with these cards because obviously they're never really going to be all that amazing, but it's something that I kind of enjoy, and that would be the Charmer archetype. Obviously, you don't really see any of the regular Charmers here. It's pretty much I guess you can call this more of a familiar possessed deck rather than a Charmer deck. But the way that I kind of built it to work is kind of according to whatever the current meta is, and this one's currently built according to what our current meta is. And that would be basically what you would kind of find more often than not would be Cleaforts, Neckcloth, and things like Burning Abyss, and even Shaddoll still. Maybe even the Rogue, Evil Swarm, stuff like that. That's why you don't see really like all of the familiar possessed and stuff in here. So they recently got a new card. I think it was in Secrets of Eternity, and that would be this card. I'll cover it whenever we get around to it. So let's just get into the build, and then we'll talk about some of the other cards. I think there was actually 2 cards that they got. One specifically for the Charmers, but 2 cards. So let's just get into the build. Starting off with the monsters, we have 3 familiar possessed Dark, 3 familiar possessed Asa, and 3 familiar possessed Iria. For those of you who do not know what these cards do, you can send their respective Charmer, meaning Asa, Iria, or Dark, as well as their respective or like another monster with their respective attribute. So in Iria's case, you would send Iria and a water monster, Asa and an earth monster, or Dark and a dark monster. And then you can special summon this card from your hand or your deck. So there's that. And if you do this, it gets trample, so it's kind of cool. They're all 1850 attack, 1500 defense spellcasters, so there's that. Next one, I think, is one of the new cards that came in Secrets of Eternity. I'm not entirely sure. Is Gigabyte. For those of you who don't, I'm just going to read off all of these because some of you might not actually know what they do. Gigabyte is a level 4 water reptile monster with 1500 attack, 200 defense. You can only control 1 Gigabyte. If you control a spellcaster type monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. When this card is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can send this card and send to the graveyard. You can special summon 1 1500 attack and 1500 attack and 200 defense monster from your deck, except for another copy of Gigabyte. So it can get this as well, which is Archfiend Eater, or I guess not. I'm going to keep calling it Archfiend Eater, but it's actually called Nefarious Archfiend Eater of Nefariousness. Archfiend Eater is technically not incorrect. Obviously, just like Gigabyte, you can only control 1 of it. If you control a spellcaster type monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. I'm sure you can kind of see where this is going. During your opponent's end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target a face-up monster you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. So, if you have Gigabyte on your field, technically, during your opponent's end phase, and you have Eater in your graveyard, you can destroy it, get Eater, and then you can use Gigabyte's effect to get another card from the deck. Obviously, you can't get this or this, so you would use it to get this, which would be an RE Fire. Just like Archfiend Eater and Gigabyte, they both have the same effects in like the respect that if you you can only control 1 of it, and if you have a spellcaster, you can special summon it. This card's unique effect is if it's destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon it during your next standby phase. So kind of like a Sacred Phoenix type of thing, I guess. Sacred Phoenix, as far as I remember, is only during your standby phase, so there's that. And then last monster being 1 Injection Fairy Lily. This card's pretty much only in here just for a couple reasons. One, it allows you to get over major threats that you might not otherwise be able to get over. And on top of that, it's also easy to get on board. And we'll explain that here momentarily. My chair is just like really weirdly positioned, but whatever. Moving on to the spells, we have 1 Regeki, 2 Shared Ride. Obviously, if you end up playing against things like Neckcloth or even Cleaforts, you can just play this card, get some free draws. Still kind of playing around with it, of course, so I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it, but it's in there as of, right now. Continuing on, we have 3 MSTs, 1 Book of Moon, and 2 Forbidden Lance. Forbidden Lance and kind of Book of Moon act as those defensive cards that can also be played in a way a little bit offensively, so, I mean, there's that. And last spell being Snatch Steal. I don't know if I need to explain this card at all. Traps, we have 2 Mind Crush. Again, it's not hard to kind of just play this against decks that either add a lot or have to reveal something in their hand in order to do something. Like, for example, a monster's effect in hand that says, hey, I have to reveal it to kind of activate it and special summon it. Or if I go to Ritual Summon, I have to kind of show what monster I'm Ritual Summoning, stuff like that. So, I mean, there's that. One Bottomless, just a good monster removal card. Same applies with this. Mirror Force. Currently, it's kind of an okay card. Some people may not expect it. Some people may expect it, but they may not be able to play out of it in their current situation where you would have it. Just a really good card. Next up is that one of the new cards that I know for a fact was in Secrets of Eternity. At least I think it was Secrets of Eternity. I got it right here. Let's see here. Yeah, Secrets of Eternity. So for anyone that does not know what this card does, Charmer monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. If a familiar possessed monster you control attacks an opponent's monster, it gains 800 attack during damage calculation only. If a monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can special summon one spellcaster type monster with 1500 defense from your deck, whose attribute is different from at least one of those destroyed monsters' attributes or original attributes on the field, in attack position or face down defense position. You can only use this effect of Unpossessed once per turn. So you can use this to bring out any of the spellcasters from your deck, whether it be Injection Fairy Lily or the Familiar Possessed. This also applies to the regular Charmers, and you can also bring them out in face down defense position, so if you need to kind of put up a sort of wall to kind of prevent you from taking damage, it's useful for putting it face down, doing that. Otherwise, it's good for just getting 1850 beat sticks on board and kind of helping keep them there. Next trap, we have 2 Skill Drain. You really only have one card in your main deck that actually cares about having an effect while it's on the field, and that's currently, Injection Fairy Lily. So being able to shut down all of your opponent's effects that they might otherwise really need, kind of a nice thing to have. And the last trap being Solemn Warning. Extra deck, we have 1 Crazy Box, Skill Drain, just saying. One Dark Rebellion, Exceeds Dragon. Sometimes these images are just way off, and it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah. 1 Karen Gorgon, useful for kind of switching targets around, should you need it, of course. Number 103 Ragna Zero, Cleforts, and a few other decks. 2 Castel, I don't know if I need to explain this card, everyone basically plays it, as long as they can play rank 4, that is. 1 Diamond Direwolf, Archfiend Eater happens to actually be Beast, so you can use it to destroy that as well, and on top of that, you can destroy itself to get something that's a massive threat off the board if you really need to. Excite Knight, Levolval Chain, useful for kind of getting Eater in the graveyard if you really need it to be. Otherwise, you can stack something on your deck. I mean, there's been situations where I've actually needed it. So, excuse me, I don't know if anyone heard that. I kind of had that gas bubble rise up. And if you couldn't tell what the next monster is, it's Abyss Dweller. Iria is a water, so you can make it at least a 2200 if you want. Cowboy for those, go for game moments. Rhapsody and Berserk for removing key cards from the graveyard, especially against things like, I don't know, it's useful, it's useful kinda against Burning Abyss, as well as things like Nekloth and whatnot. Acid Golem, these last 3, Acid Golem, Nightmare Shark, and Ghost Trick Alucard are kind of to play with the side deck that I would kind of go around with. And I'm sure everyone already knows what these 3 do. Acid Golem's kind of useful for if you happen to have that skill drain, or if your opponent happens to play it against you and you happen to be like siding in Charmers. And that's what I kind of plan on doing with this. As you notice, we have Dark, we have Asa, and Iria, and I mentioned this already. You have Dolls, you have Burning Abyss, you have Cleforts, and you have Nekloth. And they're kind of the expected matchups that you will play against. Of course, there are things like, what's it called, Yusenju and even Spiritual Beasts that you could end up playing against, but they're not like that big of a deal as the others that I already mentioned. So that's part of the reason why you see these 3 different familiar possessed there. Now the cool thing that you can do with this, because the trap card kind of protects your Charmers, you can side them in against respective matchups, and you can take your opponent's monsters and kind of just use them to summon out the familiar possessed, stuff like that. So it's kind of a cool little thing that I have been just like playing around with. Obviously, it's never going to be something that's going to be like tier 0 type status or anything. Obviously, it's never going to be the case. But the Charmers have always been something that I've actually really liked in the game. I've liked the fact that they keep getting more support. We're still waiting on the Win one to get her Unpossessed monster, which is a grown-up version of Petite Dragon. And then, of course, we need to get the like the raging forms of Dark and the Light Charmer, and then we need to get their familiar possessed, which are Metabat and Happy Lover. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of the whole Charmer thing. Do you like the actual Charmer archetype, despite the fact that it's not really competitive? Do you kind of play around with it for fun every once in a while? Obviously, I do. I mean, it's right in front of us. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the deck. If there's any kind of I guess maybe support cards that you might want to like add to it, or that you could add to it, you know, suggestions and whatnot, feel free to leave them in the comments. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck. If you haven't already, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and until next time, this is or not, I almost said my Pokemon channel's name. This is Team 709 signing out.